If you haven't finished Iron Fist yet, save this video till after you're done with the show, otherwise, get ready for some major spoilers. So I just got finished watching Iron Fist, and I really can't seem to understand all the negative reviews the show's been getting. Sure, the fight sequences weren't as well choreographed as Daredevil, but they were definitely on par with Jessica Jones, if not a bit better. Also, the storyline of Iron Fist was unique in that there wasn't just one main villain, like how you had Wilson Fisk in Daredevil and Kilgrave in Jessica Jones. Most of the characters ended up doing some pretty terrible things, and for a large part of the show, you're left in the dark as to who the worst person actually is. For me, it was a nice touch that made Iron Fist a little less predictable compared to the other superhero shows Netflix has done. So looking back on the Iron Fist comics, I found there were some pretty big changes made in the show to the character of Danny Rand and his backstory, and I'll do my best to explain these changes to you guys. In the Netflix version, nothing much is said about the backstory of Danny's parents, Wendell and Heather Rand, except of course that they were extremely wealthy because Wendell was the head of Rand Corporation. In the comics, Wendell Rand was actually a supremely talented fighter who was trained by a renegade Iron Fist while living in Nepal. Eventually, Wendell ended up ascending the Himalayan mountains and crossed the bridge leading from Earth to Kunlun. Upon crossing the bridge, Wendell saved the ruler of Kunlun, and he adopted Wendell as his son and heir. Over the next 10 years, Wendell Rand married, fathered a daughter, and won the highest honor of becoming the Iron Fist. However, he faltered when it came to the final challenge of killing the dragon Shao Lao, and instead returned to Earth where he started up Rand Corporation. Going back to the Netflix version of events, the plane carrying the Rand family crashed over the Himalayas, with the lone survivor being Danny. Later on in the show, it is revealed by Madame Gao that Harold Meachum poisoned the pilots of the jet in a plot to take out Wendell Rand. The comic version of Iron Fist portrays an entirely different story. After a number of years living back on Earth, when Danny Rand was 9, and at the same time the portal to Kunlun was scheduled to materialize, Wendell Rand decided to bring his family to Kunlun. Of course, they were accompanied by none other than Harold Meachum. While ascending the Himalayas, Danny trips, causing his mother and father to fall with him. Danny and his mother end up landing safely on a ledge, while Wendell is barely able to hold onto the edge of the cliff. Rather than saving his business partner, Harold Meachum steps on Wendell's hands, causing him to plummet to his death. Shortly after, Heather Rand is killed by a pack of wolves while trying to protect Danny. He is soon rescued by the people of Kunlun, who take him in as one of their own. All the while, Harold learns of Danny's survival and spends the next decade preparing elaborate defenses for his return. In the show, not much is said about Danny's stay in Kunlun, except that he eventually became the Iron Fist, but soon left to pursue questions he had about his parents' death, and ultimately to try and kill the person responsible. In the comics, Danny Rand also becomes the Iron Fist, then leaves Kunlun to seek vengeance on Meachum, who is now the head of Meachum Industries. After overcoming a number of attempts on his life, Danny confronts Harold Meachum in his office, only to find the man legless. An amputation carried out when, after abandoning Daniel and his mother, he was caught in heavy snow and his legs became frostbitten. Meachum accepts his fate and tells Iron Fist to kill him. Overcome with pity, Iron Fist walks away. At that moment, Meachum is murdered by a mysterious ninja, and his daughter Joy blames Iron Fist for the death. Eventually, Iron Fist clears his name and begins a career as a superhero, aided by his friends Colleen Wing and Misty Knight. Unlike the show, Iron Fist and Colleen Wing are not romantically involved. Instead, Danny Rand and Misty Knight, who was in Luke Cage, become a couple. As we all saw in the show, Danny doesn't find out it was Harold Meachum who killed his parents until the very end, and the mystical organization, The Hand, doesn't exist at all in the comics until a much later date. Both Ward and Joy Meachum exist in the comics, but they aren't brother and sister. Ward in the comics is actually Harold's brother, making Joy his niece. And as I said earlier, after seeing the Iron Fist next to her father's dead body, Joy naturally blamed him and sought out revenge with her Uncle Ward. So as you can probably tell, the Iron Fist Netflix show made a ton of changes to the story of Danny Rand and had 99% of the show take place in New York. The comic book version mostly focused on Danny and Wendell Rand's relationship with Kunlun and all the things that took place during their stay there. Although there were a ton of changes made to the original canon, they still got most of the big plot points correct. Danny Rand in the Netflix series is shown to be extremely naive and earnest at times, a nice callback to the source material. Despite the changes they made to his parents' death, Danny remained the lone survivor and Harold remained the killer. And although Harold is legless in the comics, in both versions, Danny ends up sparing him, only for Meachum to be killed immediately after. In the comics by a ninja, and in the show by Ward. Alright, that's all I got for you guys. I know there were probably a ton more differences between the comics and the show, but I wanted to just give you guys a quick rundown of the most important changes made to the backstory of Iron Fist. This video is sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. As I'm sure you know, Dollar Shave Club delivers razors right to your doorstep. And if you go to dollarshaveclub.com/thewhy or click the link in the description, you can get a 1-month trial of any razor for just $1. No hidden fees, no commitments, and you can cancel anytime you like. Just go to dollarshaveclub.com/thewhy and get any razor you like for just $1.